Literacy always on my mind. I'm stacking knowledge, no time to waste. Gotta invest smart, gotta keep up the pace. I'm reading books, learning all the tricks, studying the market, making calculated picks. I'm saving up my dough, watching it grow. No more wasting money on things I don't really know. Financial smarts, that's my new swag. Investing wisely, no more burning cash, I'm building wealth. $1 at a time, going from broke to living the life that's prime.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Reckless Ray De Niro, and as you've noticed, we've done a little bit of tweaking with the intro. Hope you guys liked it. I wanted to have some more specific, targeted, on-brand jingles for you, and I kind of feel that. So we are back at it again with another episode of Future Financial Strategies. We're gonna jump right into it. We're gonna have a conversation about velocity banking. And why are we having a conversation about velocity banking? The same reason that I had a conversation about in-home banking, and the way that I applied it. Now, I am not at the point to where I see it as an advantageous process for me to go down the rabbit hole of in-home banking the way that they set it up, but there's some principles from in-home banking that you can definitely use in your bank account. You could definitely use it ascribed to an asset such as Bitcoin, that is the best performing asset ever invented, ever. So you can take principles from some of these strategies and apply them, but I like to give them their time of day. I like to give them their light. And I want to give a shout out to Donnell Stidham. He actually responded to a couple of my comments. I've been really kind of looking at his content. I like the breakdown of it, and I'm sure that this is going to get those over in the hate camps, because like I've come to find that there are certain channels that get their clout just from like really hating on people, and sometimes specifically black people, even though it's a black channel. It's like we like to see each other fail. And I don't have a program to sell. I'm not one of these people that's out here trying to sell anybody anything. We just test things over here on Future Financial Strategies, and we apply what works. We're capable of eating the meat and spitting out the bone. Which brings me to the velocity banking. Now, velocity banking, I was looking at it, and at first I didn't understand it, was a little bit skeptical. Went down the rabbit hole, looked at a few different people break it down, and as I stated previously, Donnell Stidham, the Self-Directed Strategies channel, we're going to have them down in the link below. It made sense. Now, do I necessarily, obviously you guys know I'm an avid do-it-yourselfer over on this channel. This channel isn't for the masses. We don't have a lot of dum-dums over here. We have people that are looking to learn, looking to advance, people that try things, that understand not everything works for everybody. Again, chew the meat, spit out the bone type of scenario. So, and I am honestly under the belief that most of these people that need to be the middleman for you to do something shouldn't exist especially when it comes to finance. Like 90% of the time, actually, I would say 95% of the time, you just buy Bitcoin and be done with it. You don't need these people for anything. I don't believe in the financial advisement. I don't believe you need the middleman. Now, I understand some people are too lazy to strategize and go do the math and figure out if this works for them, or to just kind of take the time to implement the strategy. So there are people who do sell services within these spaces, and normally Pocket Watching with JT will tell you how they are scamming you. Granted, I also don't think Pocket Watching with JT is a necessity either. I don't think financial advisors are usable right now. I don't think they've been relevant for years, to be honest, because 90% of the time the products that they're putting you in do worse than the market. You are not beating inflation, and they get paid either way. And I will stand on that. Nothing that they've ascribed, because also they didn't want you to get into Bitcoin. You know why? Because you would have made money, and then you wouldn't need them because you can go buy that yourself. Crazy. But But so I'm an avid no middleman. This is a very self-sufficient channel, and what we do over here is I test stuff for the Wolfpack. We kind of get in these plays together, and then I'll break it down, and we'll let them know the results. So this one specifically, we're gonna go ahead and talk about early the velocity banking. So that brings us to velocity banking. The reason things that I find interesting about this, the concept of it. And this is to the best of my explanation. I'm sure that Pocket Watching with JT might break this down a little bit differently because he needs you to need him. But I'm breaking it down for the dummies because I'm a dummy. Okay. And I'm sure that the people who are knee deep into the velocity banking space might have some different opinions on this. But again, we do first principles math over here. So to the best of my knowledge, basically what velocity banking does is you do the math on how much you bring home total. And then you figure out if there's any wiggle room, if there's a gap in there between what you bring home and what you're spending currently. So you take all your bills, all your expenditures, and then the gap between what you actually make in total, what you bring home in total, and whatever your expenses are, that's your cash flow rate. Now, for those of us who have debt, and the reason we're doing this experiment is because, like I said, I told you guys before this bull run was over for Bitcoin, and this is something that I have the privilege of doing, understanding the cycles. I do leverage debt. I heavily leverage debt. I believe in it. It is one of the tools. We're using all the debt to build wealth. We're not buying rims. We're not going on vacation. I use it to build wealth. But having said that, we've gone through an injury, had to pay some surgery out of pocket that I could pay for. Put it in debt. When I got my reimbursement check from my HSA, that went into the income account because I'd prefer to buy assets and pay back with cheaper dollars because the time value of money states that $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow is. So we've already paid these bills and I want to pay them back with the cheapest dollars possible. Also, I allow myself a float during the bull runs of debt so that I can invest more into the area of expertise that I have, which is cryptocurrency. For those of you who did not know, I've been in that space for a decade actively. I've utilized all the tools. I've lost money. I've made money. I've sidestepped money. And now we are moving back into the traditional finance world. Why? Because I don't want to have to touch the nest egg of cryptocurrency that I have built up ever. So we want to use cheap dollars in the old system to protect the thing that, in my thesis, and this is me living out my financial thesis, which mathematically over the last 15 years has been correct, that Bitcoin is the best performing asset. It's going to continue to be the best performing asset. And you don't sell a winning horse in a race to go not get another horse or divest into a horse that is less fortuitous. So this brings us to velocity banking because I think there's some really interesting plays for somebody of my financial aptitude and the Wolfpack's financial aptitude. So I wanted to bring it to my people's purview of what this is. So basically you're living off that. So like if you have debt, you put your entire paycheck. Now for me, I'm going to say barring servicing the other debts that you have, because I do have debt spread out across a few different credit cards. But you put your whole paycheck into the credit card, right? And then you monitor your spending, keep your spending low, and you just keep chunking because as those credit card bills stack up, as you're paying those minimums, you're getting charged a service charge, but they calculate that based on the balance. So one of the perks of this that I do see mathematically is as you're taking those large chunks off the table, even though you are still using that credit card to then continue to pay bills. So as you're doing that, you're bringing the balance back up, but it should be chunking its way back down a little bit at a time or in droves. And the amount of interest that you're charged for your service charge, since part of that time, that balance is a lot lower, getting calculated at a lot lower rate. You're also saving yourself on some of that applied charge interest that's compounding. I like it. I looked at where my debt was at and I was like, hey, since I was planning on paying this down early anyways, I might try this strategy. Now, what I am doing is I'm servicing the debt and I'm still paying myself first. Now, that's going to put a little kink in probably my velocity, if you would, but I'm not buying income. I'm not going to not do it. It's just, that's a no-brainer for me. Like, that has to stay the way that it is. So the money that I'm paying myself first, that is still coming out. The other thing we've done, we've started, I had to go back through my subscriptions, because I had like a bunch of subscriptions that I was paying for that I didn't realize I was paying for. Like, subscriptions are a nightmare. It's death by 1,000 cuts, in my opinion. But I had to go back through. We had to do some trimming of the hedges, get some of these subscriptions that were not beneficial to me out of the way. Had to get them gone. I didn't want them anymore. Things I don't use, things I haven't used in forever. Paying for an Xbox Live subscription. I haven't turned my Xbox on in at least 7 months. Wasted money. Could have been used to buy Bitcoin. So as we're chunking through this debt, I was like, well, I want to see how this actually works, because there, one of the concerns that kept coming up in the videos was, what about your emergency fund? What about your emergency fund? If you have good credit and you have credit, then there's no need. I mean, it's not that there's no need for an emergency fund. It's just, I don't believe in hoarding cash. I don't believe that cash is king. Cash is complete garbage, in my opinion, at this point. Assets are nothing at all. My savings account is in the market. If it's not an active account that we're using, I don't have cash. The only reason I have cash is because what you would consider, I guess, my emergency fund is what I use as a pseudo in-home banking fund, which means I borrow money from myself. And that account is usually drained. And I'm usually just paying it back plus 10% to continue to grow the account. So with the prospect of velocity banking, I'm like, oh, you know what? We could definitely use this to clear the debt and then kind of put a little bit more of that debt back into my in-home banking apparatus that I use, those accounts, versus always being on the credit card and using the credit card for points. Another benefit of velocity banking, specifically if you're using your credit card as your debt tool. So they have a couple of different debt tools that they can use. You could definitely use this out of a overinsured cash value life insurance policy. That could be one. I mean, that's infinite banking, but the velocity banking, it could be done in the exact same way. You just dump the entire check into the policy, you take loans against the policy, pay your stuff, pay it back, policy grows. That could be a play as well. Credit card was what got me interested, because I have some credit card debt. So I was like, hey, we can at least at minimum test it on that. Another one would be a HELOC or a primary loan HELOC, where you are just basically drawing and giving back to the equity of your home. Could also be another deal. You could, you would have to have that first HELOC in order to get money out. So yeah, you would have to, it'd be one of the two HELOCs, either secondary or primary HELOC would be another tool. And I might not be getting this 100% straight, because my strategy, what I'm dialed in on, and the reason I decided to give this a shot was specifically using it from the credit card standpoint, because one of our future financial strategies is we do convert those cash advances into cash in our bank account, with which we use to buy assets. So I was like, this could be a good counterpart to that, because then you could just live out of the credit card. One of the other things that, I've done it multiple times, you can also overpay your credit card so that you just have extra money sitting in there. That is also an option. But for us, since we have multiple credit cards, it's just going to be machining down our debt tools. And then I have credit cards. I've got other debt tools. I've got the in-home banking cash account that I still owe some money on. I've got our Cash App loan that we went over for one of the future financial strategies that we're building up, that I've got some money that I still owe on, but that's going to be gone this month. That's going to be a quick hit. So by the time it rolls around, I will have gotten my dividends back from the brokerage account. The dividends will be distributed back. We will have that Cash App play locked and loaded, ready to shoot again. So our primary focus is these credit cards, because I do have a couple of large credit card balances. Obviously, the credit card that I use for the surgery, we've got a balance on that. We've got a balance on our primary daily driver. And then we also had the cash advance conversion. So we have a balance on that. That is not a primary balance, because right now it is sitting at 0% interest. So we've got time on that one. So we're gonna focus on all the other stuff first and see how far into it we can get before using the velocity banking strategy. And I am fully committed. I already put in everything besides the pay yourself first money, already started in on our first credit card. And so far, kind of, like I know I'm getting ready to get a reimbursement on that credit card as well. But I also have my stem cell therapy post-op that I'll be doing to help heal my Achilles faster. So I'm going to be getting another large expense. So like we'll get to play with this a little bit. I'm kind of really excited about it. So so that's my synopsis. And the reason that I'm looking to utilize this is because it ties directly into one of the strategies we're already using, which is the debt conversion. And it could help make it to where, not only can we raise our credit card balances faster, we can be able to hit those metrics of withdrawals faster too. Because normally once a quarter, they send me those checks. So like if you just keep banging those out, and now we've got this pendulum going to where we can do it that way. Another thing that I was looking at while I was getting set up for this video actually was I was looking at the stuff that I have to pay off, and then I got to the end of the list and I was like, I could add my income brokerage into that as well, because as I'm building up that income, depending on what my monthly expenses are, I could technically just keep going headlong into building that portfolio out and then just tapping the dividends at the end of the month to pay everything back. And I think that's going to be the goal of where I'd like to go, because then you're constantly building up an income stream as you're paying this out as well. Like that's something else that I find very interesting. Another thing that we could do is doing the primary HELOC on my property that I have. I've got my one property. We do that primary HELOC on it and convert that mortgage over into that, and then just continue to chunk at that, because obviously having set up a house hack, that would speed that process along as well. I mean, it depends. I mean, we could just start doing extra payments and just pay it down, but we'll see. I think after it gets to a certain threshold, after I get down to about, I'd say probably $30,000-$40,000, that primary, depending on what the market's doing, because I also have a very low rate on my mortgage that I have for this property. After a certain point, it'll be advantageous for me to do that, because then you're only getting assessed for the amount that you have currently pulled out on that HELOC. So, as far as speeding up paying off the property, we'll definitely be taking a look at that. But for me, with the interest rate on my mortgage as low as it is, it's almost like my priority at this point is to get that income built up to be able to substantiate all my expenses and all the stuff that I want to do now. So that way I've got my bare minimum lifestyle covered, and then expand out from there. So we've already started applying this, but we're definitely going to be tapping back in and following up on that. I just wanted to go ahead and give my 2 cents on what I look at about it. Some of the stuff that the only drawbacks that I have, it's like people are selling you the strategy as though they have to do it for you. And I'm like, with a little bit of thinking, like, granted, it took a second for me to wrap my head around it, but like, if you find the right channels, these people are giving you the game. It's just like, if you're too lazy to do it, then yes, you should pay people for their time. And I don't see anything wrong with that. Like, I don't find that scammy at all. Like, also, you have to commit to the process to test it to see if it works. There's also that, and there's nothing wrong with testing things, like chunking into your credit card. I mean, worst case scenario for me, like, I don't feel like I'm going to lose anything. You manage the other debts that you have, paying the minimum. It's just like the snowball effect with Dave Ramsey, except for the way that I look at it is it's on steroids and it's not boomer logic, because we use debt, and this may be a tool to help people manage that in a better sense. Because if you're doing velocity banking and your debt tool is the credit card, and you're actually utilizing the debt to acquire assets, not go on vacation, you're actually putting some income. So like the way that I look at the debt that I have out now is it's 100% secured. Like, sure, there's interest on it, and people are like, oh, well, you're paying 20% interest on a credit card. Like, yeah, well, Bitcoin's growth is over 100% a year on average, and I've been doing it for a decade. So, like, I haven't constantly had debt that entire time. First of all, we pay off every bull run. So, and we only float every bull run. So normally it's every 4 years I have some debt because I make a lot of plays in markets during that cycle. And then I pay it off during the bull run. This is actually me. I'm paying off early this cycle. And I figure out ways to not have to utilize my Bitcoin to do it. I like to pay it with dollars. But like the velocity banking thing, it make people feel a lot more secure in how they're navigating these waters, especially during these turbulent times, because it is hard. Job instability, got to be out here side hustling. I get it. But for those people who are in position to utilize these tools, or for those people who want to utilize these tools, because if I had to, I could liquidate everything right now. I would still have plenty of gains that I've procured that I wouldn't have to touch. Honestly, most of the debt that all the debt that I have right now, all the credit card debt could be cleared out of my brokerage. I don't even have to touch the crypto, which is the goal. So that's an added layer of security. The other thing is my brokerage account is kicking off money every month. We check it. We're tapped into that on portfolio updates. You know, we're able to subsist and substantiate those debts with that also. And that's with me reinvesting a little bit of it right now, because as we're paying the debt off, I am utilizing those dividends to manage that debt, to get the debt paid down faster, but I get to keep the asset that paid for the debt. So now I have a money machine that I have purchased with debt. It's almost like buying a car, except for the car continues to pay you after it's paid for. And while it's paying you, you're using that to chunk at the loan that you took out for the car. That's the way we look at everything over here. That's the way that I'm not even going to say that I'm teaching. It's the ideas that I'm putting in front of the wolf pack for you guys to take back, run your numbers, run your finances. I'm trying a bunch of different strategies because I believe in trying everything. Obviously, I'm not at the mountaintop yet. I'm in the murk with you. Might be a little bit ahead of you, might be a little bit behind you, but I'm trying stuff so you can at least see with somebody's portfolio, with somebody's finances. Does this actually work? Does this make sense? Is this doing something? And that's the angle that we're going at. So as far as drawbacks of it, if you're not financially responsible, any of the stuff that I am showing you over on this channel could be detrimental to your financial health. Like, just being honest, I don't make content for stupid people. I make content for me documenting my journey on where I'm at, and I'm where I'm at. And you are either here, almost here, or just don't watch this. There's plenty of other channels. Dave Ramsey exists. Like, you can go do that, and whatever results you get and however slow you get them, you get your results. Like, more power on you. There's somebody for everybody. But over here, it's future financial strategies. We're trying things at the bleeding edge. We're trying new stuff just to see if it works. And if it doesn't, I'm going to tell you. So far though, because I'm pretty scrutinizing with what I do with my money. So far though, I'd say we hitting over here. All the stuff that I've gone over on this channel so far, I am still actively utilizing to get ahead. Does it mean that at certain junctures you need to utilize every single one of the tools? No, but if you're getting it out of the mud, I don't think anything should be off the table, in my opinion, because the society that we live in, the financial climate that we live in, is not waiting for you to save up however many hundreds of thousands of dollars you now need to buy a house. Houses are still just going up in prices much faster than the rate of anything that we're getting. It's going up faster than the rate that you're getting paid. So unless you're getting like 3 or 4 jobs, cash is not king. Like, you're gonna have to be able to get into a house, or you're going to be stuck renting indefinitely with the rent prices going up. With the exception, those of you who live in areas where they're luxury rentals, because apparently those prices are softening a little bit. That's what I heard today. More power to you. There's a little bit of optimism there. But there's going to be multiple hurdles that people have to get over in order to get off of the subsisting just enough money to go on vacation once a year, because they tell you to go on vacation once a year, so that way you waste your money so that you don't ever get out of the rat race. Because once you are financially viable on your own, once you're self-sustaining, you don't have to listen to them. And I'll stand on that, because the people that you hear complaining the most about what everybody else who's working too hard. I had a homie try to shame me the other day because I said I got stuff to do. Oh, we've all got lives. You're going to work hard and still end up in the grave. You're like, yeah, but I'm not complaining about my existence. I'm not complaining about working hard. You're complaining about what all the rest of us who work hard have. You're complaining about being broke. You're complaining about being poor. It's not fair that because you want to go to every one of your kids' games that you chose to bring into this world that didn't ask to be here, and your family, because y'all are teachers, and you chose to go collect student loan debt to go be teachers to make no money, knowing that teachers don't make no money, that because you made all of these decisions, that it's now somebody else's fault besides yours for where you're at. It's nobody else's fault but yours that your body's in the state that it's in. It's nobody else's fault but yours that your finances are in the state that they're in. We all have decisions that we can make. We can all put ourselves in position. There's nobody coming and taking anything from anyone. You got a black man on YouTube, multiple black men on YouTube, that are telling you how to get ahead, that are giving you the game. You got white men on YouTube. They're telling you how to get ahead, telling you how to get the game. You got Pocket Watching with JT telling you who's blatantly scamming you. Over there just hating on people. I mean, all of them are black, but it's the thought that counts. He over there trying. I mean, you got all this game out here. There's no one taking anything from you. These are decisions at this point. Now, is the game rigged up for the majority of people to fail? Absolutely, but that's not color-based. It's the game. There's always been peasants. There's always been a lot of them. Like, if you want to not be a peasant, there is no better time to exist than right now, because this is the easiest way to not be a peasant, is to make some different financial decisions on how you spend your money or what you value. So that's kind of my spiel on that. But as far as the potential drawbacks, obviously, if you are not financially disciplined, velocity banking is going to be hard, because you're going to be putting everything on a credit card. If you're not good with credit cards, you don't want to pay them back. You trying to do some other sneaky stuff with the money, you're going to cheat the process. It's going to be problematic. Maybe not for you. Maybe you need to be in the Ramsey camp. You can't be around credit cards. That's fine. The gurus. I always say that, like, your favorite guru doesn't show receipts. Like, I mean, in concept, all of this is everything's in concept. If it's math, it's math, it's math. So it's not necessarily that. It's when you come to like paying people for their programs or all that stuff. I kind of feel some type of way about it. I feel like most of it's BS. But if you actually don't know how to set things up, then those people should be, if they got to if you need someone to hold your hand, you should pay for that. That is a value. And you're wasting somebody's time to like take you through something to hold your hand about it. So they should be paid. In the velocity banking space, most people, they all line it out the same. The information is the same. It just depends on how you want to receive it. Obviously, there's some people that are on the boomer logic side that this is as advanced as they get. And they're trying to tell you how to to hoard cash, which I don't agree with during the current financial climate. Math doesn't agree with you either. But that aside, I mean, it's basically find somebody to tap in. My breakdown on it, obviously, I don't have the graphs. It's not as fancy as the other channels. I don't have a piece of paper behind here to write on. We'll get there eventually. But I just wanted to let you guys know that, like, this is kind of where I'm at with it. And we're implementing the strategy, and we're going to see how it goes. And I'm going to be definitely doing some follow-up episodes. We'll probably revisit this monthly to kind of see where we're at, see how long it's taken to clear some of these debts, where the money's coming from. Because obviously and I mean, I got to make a decision on if I want to utilize the dividend income that I was currently going to be putting towards other channels to speed this along. I think I might be doing that too. I might just go all in. It's just like all the income that comes in that's going into a pool to deal with some stuff that just goes into that money pool, and I just look at it as an additional check. Think we might be doing that. So keep tapped in. But before we leave, we gotta give you the two bonuses. We gotta give you the bonuses. Like what should you guys be looking at on the path of financial literacy? Those of you on the path of financial literacy, I'm going to give you two gems. We're going to talk about two gems on the way out of here that you guys should be abreast of for the week of May 26th. Happy Memorial Day. Shout out to the troops. Shout out to everyone who protects our freedoms. All branches. Equal love. Gotta respect. You guys signed up. You risk your life so that we can sit here. We can complain. We can laugh. We can joke. You make it so that we can talk about this country the way that we do. Appreciate it. Number one, regulatory developments and financial policies. Several important regulatory updates and financial policies are being implemented that could impact the personal finance and investment decisions of those of you out there in the YouTube ecosystem that are watching this show. First one being National Strategy for Combating Illicit Financing. The U.S. Department of Treasury has issued the 2024 National Strategy for Combating Terrorism and Other Illicit Financing. This strategy outlines the U.S. government's goals and priorities to prevent illicit financial activities, which could affect financial institutions and their customers, namely their customers, because financial institutions just pay the fines. We know this. What it is, but it'll affect you, so you might want to be paying some attention to what's going on with that. The SEC rule amendments to Regulation S-P. The Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, has adopted amendments to Regulations S-P to enhance the protection of customers' information. These changes aim to modernize the rules governing the treatment of customers' non-public personal information by financial institutions, which could impact how personal data is managed and protected. You know what? It's about time they do something, because they keep having these data breaches, and then I get weird emails. Don't like it. Good news. Also, probably like the SEC actually has to go do their job besides suing crypto companies. Wild. And number two, economic indicators and market trends. Key economic indicators and market trends should be closely monitored to understand the broader economic environment and its potential impacts on personal finance. Number one, the U.S. Leading Economic Index, the LEI, the Conference Board's leading economic index for the U.S. decreased by 0.6% in April 2024, indicating softer economic conditions ahead. Hopefully. Factors contributing to this decline include deteriorating consumer outlook, weaker new orders, and a negative yield spread. This suggests that the U.S. economy may face headwinds, with real GDP growth projected to slow to under 1% over Q2 and Q3 2024 periods. Hey man, they wanted to hit the brakes. Brakes are getting hit. Here we are. Federal Reserve's monetary policy. Economic forecast suggests that the Federal Reserve may implement 2 rate cuts in 2024. I'm going to pause this reading real quick, because we're going to talk about that. Remember when it was supposed to be 6 and then it was supposed to be 4 and now we're down to 2? If we're banking on these rate cuts, I would just go ahead and plan worst case scenario financially and just plan on 0. Because at this point, the next thing that they're going to say is we're just going to get 1. But we'll see. But I'm just saying, they've been cutting this number in half over and over and over and over and over again. And now we're here within the year, and now we're down to 2. The first of these cuts, though, is expected in July. This is a response to moderating inflation and cooling labor market conditions. Obviously, people are losing their jobs. Honestly, my business starting to get slow. We're starting to slow down. But one of the things that they leave out is the context as to why. Why are things starting to slow down now? Could it be that we're in an election season and all these people with a whole bunch of money are waiting to make an informed decision based on who we get in office, if we're going to be stuck in the turmoil that we're in now, or if we're going to get a breath of fresh air and get a different administration in there that can actually make a policy that, you know, from a financial standpoint that benefits all of us? Because right now everyone's hurting. Not equally, but everyone is feeling the pinch across the board. Everybody is. So a lot of people are waiting to make those big, large purchases, to build those big new houses until they know what conditions we're going to be in. Now, have people been building those big new houses and making those financial decisions up until now? Absolutely. But when it comes to just tricking off money, rich people, they can afford to wait to build a multi-million-dollar house. They're already rich. They can stay where they're at for a little bit until we get through this election season so we can see what's coming ahead. And if it's going to be a better financial climate, then, you know, the market's gonna boom. If it's going to be exactly what we have had or worse, then people are, you know, it's still going to trudge forward because rich people are not going to not be rich. But they want to know. They want to know what environment we're going to be in, and I don't blame them. So, you know, me personally, that's the reason I'm trying to go ahead. Election season, I'm going to go ahead and clear out the debt. We're going to go ahead and do the velocity banking. We're going to start getting to work ourselves to get as much of this debt cleared as possible. So that way we're prepared. We can figure out if we're where we're going to go velocitying next after all the debt's cleared. Is it going to be into Bitcoin? Is it going to be into the brokerage account? Most likely the brokerage account, because I want to get things set up to not have to touch the Bitcoin. I've got plenty of Bitcoin. I secured that bag. I did get that task done. It was Herculean, but that bag's secured. I just want to be able to let it do what it do without having to dip into it. Investors and consumers should be aware of these potential changes as they could influence borrowing costs, savings rates, and overall economic activity. And over here, we trying to buy assets more than we consume. If the less of a consumer you are, the wealthier you tend to be. If your focus is putting money into assets, generally speaking, you're probably going to be in a better place than the person who wants to put money into Jordans and Gucci belts. We're gonna end it on that note. I hope you guys have gotten some value out of this. Definitely let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are on the broadening economy. Where are you at? What are you guys' thoughts on velocity banking? What are you thinking about velocity banking? Have you heard of it? Tap in with me down in the comments below. It's your boy Reckless Ray De Niro, and until next week, we are out. Peace.
Money on my mind, yeah. Focus, got no time for games, nah. I don't play it, I'm all about that financial literacy. Investing in my future, building generational wealth. Dollar bills, they be calling my name, but I ain't chasing fame, I'm chasing change. Learn the game, now I'm playing it smart. Putting my money to work, it's an art. I'm stacking paper, building my own empire. No more living check to check, I'm getting higher. Investing in stocks, real estate, and more. Gotta secure the bag, that's what I came for.